COVID in New Zealand is getting a little crazy.
Yeah, we're starting to understand what it's been like to live outside of New Zealand during the COVID pandemic.
After just one case in New Zealand, Jacinda locked the entire country down into our strictest level 4 lockdown.
We only get one chance. That's why Cabinet has met this afternoon and made the decision that New Zealand will move to alert level 4 from 11:59 p.m. tonight. Level 4 will be for an initial period of 3 days, except for Auckland and the Coromandel Peninsula, who we anticipate will likely be at level 4 for 7 days.
So what does the level 4 lockdown look like?
Level 4 lockdown means you stay at home.
It's closed. You can only access essential services, which is like medical things or food.
Yep. On top of that, we were identified as close contacts of a person who had COVID, so we had to self-isolate at home for 14 days.
It was kind of crazy because this was at the beginning of the lockdown, and so everybody was ordering their groceries online, and so we couldn't get click and collect, we couldn't get groceries delivered, and we weren't supposed to leave our house.
Yeah, we were running out of food. Luckily, we were able to order HelloFresh, and we had some friends deliver some items. So to get out of quarantine, we had to take 2 COVID tests.
Yeah, and how did that go, Chris?
Well, it depends on who you get. So the first time we went, it was okay, it wasn't too bad. Second time, when you got your test, the lady jammed it way up there and she just kept going and going. And then she had trouble putting the swab back in the container because it was too long. And so before she did my test, she went back and got the normal size ones, which I was so thankful for, because looking at your face when you got yours, I did not want to go through that.
We had a few birthdays while we were in lockdown. Hobie turned 10, Henry turned 8, and our little baby Hazel turned 1. And birthdays in lockdown had to be a little bit different than normal.
Yeah, so obviously you can't invite people over, but the second thing is you can't order non-essential items. So unless you're going to give kids bananas for their birthday, you have to be more creative. But luckily, Cindy was on top of things, and she had already ordered a bunch of the gifts already. So we had the gifts covered.
Yeah.
So in level 4 and 3, you're basically supposed to work from home if you can. And I went in a couple times at level 3, but it's pretty empty. Most of my work can be done at home, so that's what I've been doing. So how's school going?
School's been good. It's more challenging this time around because we have 3 in school and a baby that is very mobile and very into everything. It's been hard keeping her contained while trying to also focus on the kids, but we've been figuring it out. We've been in lockdown quite a while now, and I think by week 6, week 7, I'm starting to get the hang of things. Thankfully, the school has been super flexible. I know all schools are a little bit different, but at our school, they send home a weekly PowerPoint, and we can choose what we want to do on the PowerPoint. And every week, they stress that it's optional and to focus on our well-being as well as our kids. So that's been really nice. And the kids have also had some video conferences with their classmates, so they've been able to stay connected with them.
New Zealand will go into lockdown. It's after the country detected its first locally transmitted case of coronavirus for 6 months.
Some people would think locking down the entire country after just one positive case is a bit crazy, a bit intense, a bit aggressive, but it actually was probably the best decision because our cases went up so high and then they came back down, and then they've kind of been steady for a while, but then now they're starting to creep back up. And that's kind of where we are right now. Like, our big question is, has New Zealand given up on COVID elimination? And what do you think about that?
I think they have. So I think people are getting a little tired of following the rules, and they just want to move on with their lives.
Yeah, so Auckland, we have been in lockdown almost 8 weeks now. Almost 8 weeks. 5 weeks of that was during our really strict level 4, and then the last 3 weeks have been level 3, which is still pretty restrictive.
Yeah, it's been a tough 8 weeks, but it has given people a lot of time to get their vaccines. So when the lockdown started, we weren't eligible for vaccines yet because we weren't old enough. But shortly after it started, we were eligible, and we've been able to get our vaccine shots.
Because New Zealand seems to be moving away from the elimination strategy. It's been confusing with like our alert levels, and they just changed Auckland where we now have these steps, but we're still within level 3, but some of our restrictions are loosening. But the virus is starting to creep out of Auckland a little bit, and so they're putting other areas into a different level 3 than what Auckland's in, and so it's just kind of confusing. And the government tried really hard to lay out like our roadmap, but people are starting to say, it's a roadmap to nowhere because we don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know what the expectations are in terms of, are they looking to get a certain percentage vaccinated for a step? Are they looking for a certain number of cases that are unlinked? Like, we don't know. It's just a random roadmap. And I'm sure they've thought about it pretty thoroughly, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Super confusing. When New Zealand moved to level 3, a lot of people were excited about the extra freedom, and then there were a lot of people who were not so excited because they wanted to keep things super safe. So we don't have to smuggle food in from Hamilton anymore. We were going there for KFC until we got busted, and they call us the KFC bandits. I don't know if you saw some news.
Meanwhile, Auckland, New Zealand is currently under lockdown with fast food restaurants closed, and yet New Zealand cops have arrested men entering the lockdown city with large amounts of illicit KFC. These Kentucky Fried Bandits were attempting to smuggle in 3 buckets of chicken, a big stash of fries, and 10 tubs of coleslaw.
I think we now in New Zealand are starting to feel what other countries have been going through, because we didn't have to deal with this before.
Yeah, and on top of that, we're dividing the country between Auckland and everywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody else wants Aucklanders to leave the city, and Aucklanders want to be able to travel. They want to be able to leave. So
they want to see family. They want to, all sorts of reasons.
And the South Island just wants to cut everything off, require testing before you travel between islands, which is a good idea. And if we lived at the South Island, we'd be feeling the same way.
Yeah, I feel like if I lived outside of Auckland, I'd want Auckland to stay locked down. But as somebody who lives inside of Auckland, like, we're really starting to feel quite trapped. We've been trapped in our houses, trapped in our small communities, trapped in Auckland, and like, you almost feel a little bit discriminated against. Like, even we have an island, Waiheke Island, that is really close to Auckland, and they're considered in the Auckland region, and they just, the government announced that Aucklanders can't cross the boundary. They can't go to Waiheke Island even. They're like, oh, keep Auckland out. And South Island, keep Auckland out. Everybody wants to keep Auckland locked up. The vaccine rollout in New Zealand has been really slow. Chris and I were just eligible for it at the beginning of September, and even before that, people were kind of getting vaccinated, but not really. Because we didn't have the virus, people were just kind of holding off, thinking, oh, I'll wait for a little bit more research. I'm not anti-vaccination. I just want some more time and more research done.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were waiting until we started seeing cases. Then people started going. And New Zealand took off. Their vaccination rate has been climbing ever since then, super fast. I think they're racing to get to 90%, which would be amazing if they could do it.
Yeah. And I think this lockdown is giving us time. It wasn't our end goal. I think, we wanted elimination, but we didn't get it. But it's bought us some time for people to be double vaccinated, and there's just a huge, huge push to get all communities vaccinated. They even have a map where you can see what percentage of your community is vaccinated, which is quite fascinating to look across the whole map of New Zealand and see the small communities and what their vaccine rates are. What's nice about the lockdown is we are able to spend some extra time like as a family and just kind of like relaxing and just not doing a whole lot.
Yeah, it's been pretty relaxed. We do the schoolwork, but we don't get too stressed out about it.
Yeah, I like to focus on the skills that they need to work on and then the fun stuff.
Yeah, so we're doing more fun stuff. We did a lot of Lego challenges, a lot of science experiments, and we do a lot of running, tire the kids out.
Yeah, Chris and I, we've been running every single day except for the time that we had to spend in quarantine in our house. So I feel like we're getting in really good shape. We're getting fast.
Super fast.
Yeah. And what's fun is the 3 older kids, they have like a route that they run, and then we've been timing them, and they work on getting personal records and going faster. And so it's been good for them to get their exercise. We've been enjoying just going outside and playing at our local domain and bringing dodgeballs and bikes. And our trampoline broke, but luckily I've got an engineer here.
Yeah, we'll see how long the fix lasts, but so far so good.
We've done some baking with the kids. We had a baking challenge where each child could pick a dessert, and they got to make it all by themselves with just a little bit of reading or guidance from me or Chris, but that was fun for them to take complete ownership of a dessert. Overall, I'm so thankful to be in New Zealand. It could be so much worse. You know, I think the worst is still yet to come, but I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think as a country, we're going to get ready for it. A lot of people are getting vaccinated, which I think is really going to help.
Thank you to everybody who has joined us. If you have not subscribed, feel free to do so. We have so many great videos coming up. We have quite a backlog of footage that we've shot and haven't had a chance to edit yet. So get ready for that. Some trips from around the world and a lot of footage coming from New Zealand. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.